That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. The hardest part about building business credit is knowing the right order of accounts to actually apply for. And that's exactly what we're going to decode during today's training. Let me tell you a little bit of a secret. Everybody messes this up. When it comes to business credit building, the biggest problem I see business owners make is they apply for accounts that they cannot get. They apply for business credit accounts in the wrong order. And when they do that, they get denied, they get frustrated, they give up. We're going to fix that problem today. The key to successful business credit building is following a series of steps. We describe this as tiers. If you navigate the correct tiers in order of building business credit, then that fixes your problem and you're able to actually get approved. But if you make the mistake most business owners make and you apply for credit in a different tier before you should, you just get denied. It causes serious delays. It's why it takes people years when it could only take months. So in order to fix this, you have to know the proper sequence, the proper steps to build business credit. And that's exactly what we're going to decode right now. Now, by the way, if you're really interested in building business credit, I'll tell you what you should do. Go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com right now and register 100% free. It's the first time we've ever done this. We're hosting April 17th, which is in 2 weeks, 3-day business credit building challenge, soup to nuts. We'll just go through everything you need to know to build business credit. I'm going to give you an updated version right now of what you need to know to condense this process. But if you really want to get the best results the fastest, go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. You can scan the QR code on the screen as well, and it'll take you there so you can build business credit with us live during the challenge. It's 100% free. Check it out. All right, so business credit building. Here's the secret that most will not tell you because most don't know. They only build business credit for themselves. They haven't done it for 50,000 people. Business credit building can really be broken down into tiers. And what tiers basically are like levels of credit you can get when you accomplish certain things. Now, in the business credit building world, those certain things are the number of accounts you have on your business credit reports. It's really that simple. The more accounts you have on your business credit reports, the more tiers of credit become available for you, the more credit that you can get. Now, if you're applying for something, it should be a tier 4 vendor because it needs 14 accounts to get approved, and you only have 4 accounts on your business credit reports, you're going to get denied. You're going to be asked for a personal guarantee. You're going to be asked for a personal credit check. You're going to be asked for a deposit. All of these things happen. But if you apply for that exact same account with the proper amount of accounts you need to get approved, 14 in this example, you get approved without issue. Okay, so that's the key to building business credit is navigating these steps, which are basically tiers, and getting credit in the right order so you actually get approved for the credit you apply for. You're not getting denied. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, it always starts with the very beginning point, which is called fundability foundation. Here's why it's important. You can't get credit when you don't have credit. We hear this all the time, right? It's hard to be able to get credit when nobody will give you the credit to build the credit profile and score. So how do we get around this conundrum? Well, there's 2 ways. We can use a program called Credit Line Hybrid, and then we can use good personal credit to personally guarantee credit lines, and those credit lines report to the reporting agencies. Great solution if you have good credit or a guarantor around you that does. But most people build business credit through what's called starter vendors. And what makes starter vendors unique is that, first of all, they'll give you credit when you have none. And second of all, they report that credit they give you to the business credit reporting agencies. So that being said, if you want to successfully build business credit, then you've got to get vendor accounts or accounts first on your business credit reports. And that only ever really happens if you get the first accounts reported. So how do you get the first accounts reported? Well, these starter vendors don't require that you have previous credit for them to issue you credit, but there's a catch. There's always a catch. Dang it. The catch is they're going to look at some basic preliminary things about your business to make sure that your business is set up where it's credible, to make sure that your business is set up where it's fundable, where you look legitimate to them. If they see a legitimate business and they approve you for initial credit, you get the credit, you use the credit, you pay the bill, the credit reports to the business credit reporting agencies. That activates your business credit profiles, and then that starts putting accounts on there, and the more accounts you have, the more tiers of credit become available. That's a quick overview of the process. But it starts with us getting our first accounts. It's the hardest part of building business credit. And it's hard because most people skip this step right here. which is actually called the business fundability foundation step. So when it comes to business fundability, you've got to make sure the business is legitimate right away, because that's what the starter vendors are going to look for. They don't have business credit reports to tap into, to look at. So they're just going to look at the structure of your business. So let's do an overview of what they want to see. In the simplest, there's 120 points to fundability. I don't want to go into 120. You don't want me to either. And we will, by the way. We're going to dive into a lot more depth than we ever have during the business credit building challenge. But for this sake, let's just take a look at the 5 or 7 most common things that credit issuers look at. First of all, you have to have a business, which means you have to have an entity set up. If you're going to set up an entity, you want to have an LLC or a corporation. Any type of corporation will work. You want to avoid being a sole proprietorship. Pretty simple. Not going to dive in depth to that. Corporation, LLC, it's what we want. Once we get the entity set up, we need to get our EIN number. Yeah, you can have a business without an EIN number. It's called a sole proprietorship. You don't need one. But for business credit building, we need to have an EIN, because business credit is linked to our EIN. And by the way, if you're just coming in, tell me where you're coming in from. Give me a shout out. Say hello. I'd love to be able to give you a shout out back. L. Parker, thank you very much for joining us today. So we've got to make sure we have an entity. We got to make sure we have an EIN. We also need to have a separate phone number for our business. We can't use a mobile phone or a home phone or a phone number that's been used for anything else. We want to have a separate phone number set up for the business. The phone number should be listed everywhere. Everywhere our business is listed, yellow pages, website, contact us page on the website, the contact us or about us information on our social media pages. It needs to be congruent. Everything I'm telling you has to be the same everywhere. It's the number one reason we're going to get denied, because again, if it's incongruent, lenders think it's fraud because they can't locate the business that's applying. This is the biggest reason business owners get denied. We got to show them it's not fraud by when they look up our business, they see our business listed everywhere. The only way that happens is if the business information is congruent. So we've got to make sure that we get the phone number separate for the business. We've got to get a business address, preferably retail or commercial location. We want to avoid PO boxes at all costs, UPS boxes, iPostal boxes. That stuff it cannot be used, or you will get denied in most places you apply. You can use a home address, but some sources will never approve you. An example is Amazon will approve you if you use a home address. Walmart never would have approved you, still won't approve you today for a corporate credit card with a home address. So if you want to maximize funding, get a separate address for your business. Go through a virtual office. A virtual office is Regis, it's Alliance, it's DaVinci. Okay, these offer you an actual address in a real commercial building. It's not like an iPostal or a UPS box. It's not a mail box. It's a real address. Then we can use that real address to be able to get approved. Best part is, man, these things are like $40 to $65 and expensive. They're very cheap. When I set up a business now, one of the first things I do is I actually set up that address. And that address stays with me no matter what happens. See, if I have my home address as my business address, I move. Okay, I don't even move a lot. Like this is, I've moved like 2 times in the last 17 years, right? But still, if you move, you got to change everything. It's a nightmare. If you have a real business address and you change everything, it's a nightmare to change it. So a virtual office I get, and I always set it up through the lifetime of the business. It's always there. That way my address never has to change. So now we have a separate address for the business, a separate phone number. The business is set up. It's an entity. It's an EIN. The next thing we want to do is we want to get a website set up for the business. We also want to get a professional email address set up. My website's creditsuite.com. info@creditsuite.com is my email. Okay, that's the most important stuff. Now, other stuff we want to do, we want to get a business bank account set up. Super cheap and easy to do. Like $25, $50 is all we need to set up that bank account. If we can get a license, get one. Go look in your county. If you can get a license in your county, get one. It's super cheap in Florida to do. And a license gives me a ton of credibility. And you're going to need it. I'm going to tell you a starter vendor in a minute that'll give you a $2,500 credit line in a few minutes. $2,500 credit line just because you have a license. Like it's that big of a deal. It really makes you look legit when you have a license set up. Other things that I think are interesting that I'm seeing Google and lenders and credit issuers do is they're looking at things like, do you have social media pages set up? Do you have a Better Business Bureau profile set up? These are things they're looking at to validate your business. So when I set up a business, I set up a Google business profile. I set up a Yelp profile. I set up my Better Business Bureau. I set up my social media pages. These are things that we're all looking for for a legitimate, credible business. And then, of course, all the information needs to be congruent there. And we've got B. Lee in Houston, Texas in the house. Kansas City, baby. John says, thanks for coming in. Z says, how can you leverage good personal credit to get business credit as a brand new few-week-old business? I'm going to tell you in just a couple minutes. And you can get 150 grand in financing using that scenario you just had. And Mr. Frederick Clifton is in the house from Treja Management LLC. By the way, if you're just coming in, give me a shout out. Tell me the industry you're in. Tell me where you're coming in from. Just give me a shout out and say hello. I'll mention you in the stream. And by the way, if you really want to build business credit, scan that QR code or go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. Businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. We launch in 2 weeks for our 3-day first ever business credit building challenge, where we teach you soup to nuts, everything you need to know to build business credit. So now that we've set up that fundable foundation, now we've done that. Now it's time to get starter vendor credit. Okay. And Z says, I think it's pronounced Z says, hey, I've got good personal credit. How do I leverage it to get initial credit? Great question. There's actually 2 different ways you can build initial business credit. The first is one called Credit Line Hybrid. Now, with Credit Line Hybrid, you're actually able to come in and you're actually able to get approved for 50, 100, even 150,000 in funding using good personal credit to get approved. I just threw up the link that you can go to get approved. Now, with Credit Line Hybrid, they want you to have 700 type credit scores. Okay, you need to have good credit. You need to have no derogatory items, collections, judgments, none of that stuff. You also need to have low utilization, less than 40%. Your balances of your credit cards and your revolving credits less than 40% of your limits. You need to have less than 6 inquiries in your credit in the last 6 months. If you have a higher utilization or more inquiries, you'll get less funding, but you still may be able to get approved. So what's nice about Credit Line Hybrid is a lot of things. First of all, it's 0% interest rates. So you can get approved at 0% for up to 18 months. There's nothing cheaper than 0, right? Then you can also get no doc. There's no bank statements. There's no tax returns. There's no documentation required to be able to get approved. And you can take the cash out of these credit lines at 0%. That's pretty cool. And a lot of the credit lines report to the business credit reporting agencies. So what happens now is we can get up to 150,000 in funding. How much you get depends on your highest credit limit account now. You usually get 5 times that amount. So if I have a Chase credit card with a $20,000 limit, then I can get 5 times that, or about 100 grand in funding. If I have a Bank of America credit card with only a $10,000 limit, I can usually get 5 times that, or about 50 grand in funding. But more money than I've ever seen for a startup business. On average, we see about 55, 60,000 funded on this program for brand new businesses. I mean, businesses that are just getting launched. Pretty cool with no revenue verification. So Credit Line Hybrid is a great way to jumpstart the process. You start putting accounts on your business credit reports that have $5, $10, $20,000 limits, which helps you get even higher limits beyond that. The second way we build initial business credit is through a program called starter vendors. I shouldn't call them a program, but starter vendors are vendors that we can get credit with that report the credit we get to the reporting agencies, and they'll give us credit when we have no other credit on our business credit reports. So now we've got Credit Line Hybrid. If we have good credit, by the way, I can use a guarantor for this, a family member, a friend, an investor. Half of the clients we help with Credit Line Hybrid have bad credit. They're just using somebody else's credit as a guarantor to get approved, and they're still building their business credit. Pretty cool. But then I've got starter vendors, and starter vendors don't require us to have good credit to be able to get approved. Starter vendors, anybody can get. They don't require guarantees. They don't require credit checks. So these starter vendors that we get are going to help us report initial accounts to the business credit reporting agencies. And that's how we really come in and start building initial business credit. Here, I'll show you what this looks like. So if we come in here and we start building business credit, it doesn't matter which method we use. The only thing we really care about is we care about getting initial accounts on our business credit reports. So whether we use Credit Line Hybrid or whether we use these starter vendors, that's the key for us to be able to start moving to other forms of credit, is we've got to get at least 3 accounts on our business credit reports. Now, the type of credit we use here in the starter vendor is going to depend on the industry that we're in our needs. So for example, Phillips 76, well, this is a fuel station, right? So if I'm in the transportation industry or if I need fuel, well, this is a great account to start building business credit with, Okay, it's a great starter vendor. They report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. And again, if I'm in the transportation industry, this is a great starter account to get going with. But if I work in an office like I do, I don't usually use gas cards. I live in the middle of the city. I don't even drive very much unless I'm taking my daughter to soccer, for example. So I don't need gas cards. What I need is I need office supplies. I need shipping supplies. That's very relative to my business. So because of that, I want Uline, for example, and they again report to D&B and Experian. Okay. And then again, if we look at the qualify section, we see all stuff that I already talked about. It's all fundability foundation stuff. We have an entity. We have an EIN, right? We have a DUNS number, which you need to get set up too. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. We'll talk about that more in the Business Credit Building Challenge. Don't forget to register for that, 100% free. Bank account. We've also talked about, basic stuff, making sure everything is congruent. So this is an account anybody can get. So what I'm going to get starter vendor wise here is going to depend on what industry I'm in. What am I actually using the credit for? Now, some of the best types of credit to get, the best starter vendors, my favorites, include Granger, include Uline, include a company called CEO Creative. I love these. These are very easy to get. They report to the business credit reporting agencies. If I get 2 or 3 of those type of accounts and they report to multiple reporting agencies, then that will give me an established credit profile and score. Remember, Equifax and Experian require us to have, they're going to create a business credit profile for us if they know our address, our industry, and they know our business name, which they get from Secretary of State. They'll also create a credit profile for us if we have 1 account reported to them. Dun & Bradstreet requires 3 accounts reporting to them. So we get a lot of questions about, hey, Dun & Bradstreet won't create my credit report. They will, but you need a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to them in order to be able to get that done. So some things to think about there. Facebook user says, hey, Tavanda, owner of God's Loving Arms Tax Consulting Services, watching from Houston, Texas. Thanks for coming in, Houston. Ohio's in the house from Sean, businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. Yeah, that's right, Sean. Hope we all see you there. Harley says, hey, Texas Custom Credit Repair in San Antonio. I love San Antonio. I was stationed there when I was in the military. Really need your help. We're going to help. Hey, Kevin, look, if you really want the maximum help, I'm going to give you an overview of the process. But again, businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. If you go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com, I'm going to throw this up as well. We are going live in 2 weeks for this 3-day challenge where we get into a lot more depth than we get into here because we go a couple hours every day and I decode the whole thing for you. So keep that stuff in mind as well. And Tavanda Brown is in the house. I love that. Tavanda, you even said hello to me twice. That was super cool of you. Okay, so now we've got initial accounts on our business credit points. We built the business where it's fundable. Now starter vendors will give us credit. We applied for the credit. Here's the steps to do. We go set up an account with these vendors like Uline. We set up an account. Then we go put stuff in our cart. Then we go to checkout. Then upon the checkout, it asks things like, hey, do you want to use this on credit? Or do you want to get terms for this? Or do you want to pay with a credit card or whatever? You just say, I'm going to pay with terms. However it's worded. It's worded different with every vendor. And then if they ship the items, congratulations, you got approved. There's no celebration. There's no email, congratulations, you have a $5,000 credit limit. There's none of that. If they ship the items without you giving them a credit card, you just got approved for credit on terms. Now what you want to do is as soon as they let you pay that bill, you want to pay the bill. Your credit scores for the business are based on how you pay your bills. The earlier you pay, the higher the scores. So that's something we can easily control. We do not want to wait 30 days. In the consumer world, they can't report us late unless we're 30 days late. In the business world, the minute the day comes and goes that your payment is due, you start damaging your credit. And then it goes what's called DBT, days beyond terms. The further you go late from the time you're supposed to make the payment, the more damage you do to your scores. So what we want to do is as soon as we're allowed to pay the bill, as soon as they ship the item and they let us pay the bill, we want to pay the bill. Let me give you an example. Staples will not let me. Staples, I can order, they ship it. I can go in my account to pay it. They won't let me pay it until the statement is populated. They won't let me do it. If I go to Quill, they will. Quill will. If Quill ships the item, I can go in my Quill account and pay the bill right away. I gotta make sure the item shipped, or it wouldn't count as credit. It would count as a cash transaction. But once the item ships, then I'm able to go in there and I'm able to pay that bill. And then the faster I pay it, the higher my business credit scores are. Next, we get credit monitoring. And if you want credit monitoring, go to creditsuite.com/monitoring. I have no promises that your payment will not double, but I can tell you right there is the cheapest business credit monitoring anywhere in the planet you're going to get. And they are in the process of doubling our cost of that. So the prices are about to double on credit monitoring. I'm not making this up. We just had the meeting on it today. It's going to happen. So in the weeks to come, credit monitoring prices are going to double. If you want to get the cheapest right now for credit monitoring, go to creditsuite.com/monitoring. It's $24. If you're watching this on YouTube weeks or months from now, it's going to be double that. Just a heads up. So we want to get credit monitoring. We have to see these accounts as they're showing up on our business credit profiles. Once we see 3 accounts, now we can start to move on to the next tier of credit. Now remember, 1 account gives us Equifax, Experian credit profiles come alive. They're activated. 3 accounts and a DUNS number get us profile activated with Dun & Bradstreet. So I refer to this as the trifecta. We have accounts that report to the business credit reporting agencies. These can be called trade lines. These can be called payment experiences. That gives us a credit profile. And then there's a credit score on how we pay our bill. When we have that trifecta, trade lines, credit profile, credit score, now we can start to move on to the next tier of credit. That gives us 3 accounts reporting. Here, I'll show you exactly what it looks like. So we already looked at these starter vendors. We got approved. Then we get our credit reports. Then we move to the next tier of credit. Now, when we move on to the next tier, how many accounts you need to navigate each tier changes all the time, right? So in this account, we got to have you need at least 6 accounts on your business credit reports to move to the next tier, for example. These change all the time. But in tier 2, we start getting credit at all of these different sources. And again, the type of credit we get depends on what our business is. So HD Supply, this is a place that's like an extension of Home Depot. So if I'm a contractor, if I'm in the construction, if I'm doing anything along that line, this is a great account for me. Barnett Home Depot Pro is another Home Depot type company, furniture, stuff like that as well. All the type of stuff if you're like in the construction industry. But let's say that I'm in the office. Well, if I work in the office, well, then Office Garner could go well for me. If I'm a transportation company, then GetGo and Maverick can work well. If I'm a credit repair company, which somebody mentioned, that I want to get office supplies. So the type of credit I'm getting in these tiers really is based on the industry that I have, what I actually need to use the money for, okay? And then as I get more credit, then more credit reports, I watch a report on my business credit reports, and I start to move from tier to tier to tier. And then as I get to the final tier, then I'm able to get auto financing, Visa cards, MasterCards, auto financing. This is called universal credit that we can use anywhere. Okay, so this is basically how business credit building works. It's a tiered system that lets us get more types of credit, the more credit that we actually have on our business credit reports. It's exactly how it works. Now, Tamara says, how much does an owner have to purchase on a second order with Uline in order for them to start reporting? I love this question. So there's these little nuances with every credit issuer. So for example, Quill or Uline like you to purchase $50 before they'll report the credit to the business credit reporting agencies. Most vendors have no requirements, no minimum purchase requirements that they actually have. Some do have business credit requirements. But in this case, to your exact example, they have a $50 requirement really for Uline to report that credit to the business credit reporting agencies. SK Chandler says, hey, what if you don't have a DUNS number and not required to? You are required to. If you ever want to have business credit reports with Dun & Bradstreet, you need to have a DUNS number. It's 100% free. It's easy to be able to get. And once you have it, then it makes it easier to get all types of credit. But you have to have a DUNS number to ever have credit with Dun & Bradstreet. Now, you don't need a DUNS number anymore to be a contractor with U.S. government or any of that. Now we get into like the SAM number. Now we get into all different types of things. But for business credit building, you need a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to Dun & Bradstreet in order to have a credit profile and score. So even if you need the DUNS number for nothing else, you still need to get the DUNS number. It's crucial to building business credit. And SK Chandler is coming in from Seattle, Washington. Okay, so thank you for coming in from Seattle. Okay, so that being said, remember, you have to build business credit. If you want to build business credit, you have to have a DUNS number. It's absolutely crucial. Now, you're also asking about CDIA. I think you're talking about the Consumer Data Industry Association. There's CDIA can mean a few different things. So if that is, let me know what you're asking, because you just said, what about CDIA? So if that's what you're referring to, let me know what you're actually asking there specifically. Ryan Tippy. Hey, what's up, Ryan? Thank you very much for coming in. Ryan, is this the same Ryan Tippy? Ryan was like my best friend when I was a kid. Like, we had the best time growing up. He was my neighbor, lived right next to me. Like, all kinds of crazy stories I could tell you. If this is the same Ryan tuning in, what's up, Ryan? Thanks for coming in. Okay, and SK Chandler says, Ty, we have a 508 C1A, great women of faith outreach. How did this work for us? Exactly the same way. What's nice about business credit building is exactly the same way, no matter if you're a nonprofit, for-profit, you're from Florida, you're from Iowa. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same as we talked about today. 1, build that fundable foundation. 2, get accounts reporting initially using starter vendors or credit line hybrid. Step 3 is move through the tiers. The more credit you get, the more is available for you. It doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit. It doesn't matter if you're a for-profit. It doesn't matter what state you're from. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's always exactly the exact same steps, okay? SK Chandler says, registering or business with CDIA. That has nothing to do with business credit building. So if you want to register with the CDIA, because that's relevant to your industry, you can, but that has nothing to do with business credit building, whether you're registered or not. It doesn't make a difference when it comes to business credit building. So that is helping you get the exact credit lines that are relevant to your business. Do you have good credit or not? That depends if you get starter vendors or if we come in and we get a credit line hybrid. And then what types of accounts we get in each tier depends on our industry. Okay, we may want HD supply if we're in the construction industry, or we may want a Speedway gas if we're an over-the-road trucker, or we may want Office Depot if we work in an office. Then it's a matter of getting the credit, using the credit, paying the bill, and then as those report, we move on to the next tiers and tiers of credit. So this is the easiest way to know the types of accounts that will work for you while building business credit. If you want to learn more, scan the QR code or just go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. Again, it's a 100% free 3-day event that we are hosting starting April 17th, which is Monday. We're going to dive in. I mean, I can't even begin to say, actually, I will. I'll tell you right now. I'll show you. I'll show you what most people have not even seen. So I'll show you everything that we're going to be going over here during the Business Credit Building Challenge. It's literally an in-depth dive into every single thing that you need to know to successfully build business credit. Okay, so everything you need to know, we are going to cover. We're even got a bonus day here. I'll show you everything that's taken place during the challenge. And again, it's 100% free. We've never done this before. It's the most in-depth dive into business credit building ever. And this is exactly what it's going to look like. We're going to decode what business credit is. We're going to look at real results you're able to get. We're going to actually talk about fundability foundation in depth. We're going to then go through the fastest and easiest way that our clients are using to expedite business credit building. We're going to top into the other aspects of fundability, your credit, your financials, the application, everything lenders don't want you to know, so you know the secret formula to get approved. We're talking about getting set up with the reporting agencies, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian, getting your BEN number, getting your DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet. We're going to go through a deepest dive ever on vendor credit and map out how to wisely use it. We're also going to talk about using credit lines to jumpstart your business credit building process. Then on the final day, we break down all the credit scores you need to know in the business world. We talk about credit tiers and how to navigate through them successfully. And we talk about retail credit, fleet credit, auto financing, cash credit, all of how to get it. And that takes us into bonus day where we talk about advanced business credit building. We take a really deep dive into one of our clients' case studies that actually got $1 million in business credit, so you can see exactly how she did it, and you can do the same. I'm going to go through my top 10 tips, which I oftentimes don't share, and then I'm going to do a live walkthrough of this process. We are going to take a business and walk it through the entire thing so you can actually see exactly how business credit building works. It's a 100% free challenge. It takes place in 2 weeks, April 17th. You can register for free at businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com or scan this little QR code that is on the actual screen right now. So let me do some questions, make sure I have any questions that you have wrapped up. before we end today. SK Chandler says, okay, the DUNS number puts us back in the public sector. Well, again, the DUNS number is no longer needed anymore. It's not needed for anything to do with government. It's just your identifying number with Dun & Bradstreet. So again, if you're going to go get the SAM system is what you're going to use if you need anything to do with government contracts, but you still need a DUNS number to build business credit, even though you don't need it for government contracts like you do the SAM system. Hopefully that helps you there. Raising the standard, ENT LLC. What about the rental car industry? Don't know exactly what you're asking about the rental car industry, but if you give me more insight, let me know. But yes, Thrifty and a lot of the actual rental car companies do offer personal business credit without a personal guarantee and credit check. As a matter of fact, most major hotel chains and airlines do as well. Our system has American Airlines, it has JetBlue, it has United Airlines, it has Marriott, Hilton. All of those type of sources, including rental car companies, offer business credit without a personal guarantee and credit check. It's all available. And Tavada says, which business starter vendors could I purchase for tax software? Well, again, if you're in the tax software industry, then you want to look at CEO Creative. You want to look at Uline. Those are some of the ones that really do with office related type things as well. Those would be my best advice. I like Uline. I like Granger. I like CEO Creative. Anything in the office area, those can definitely help you as well. Okay, and awesome. SK Channel. And if you need more help, then let your advisors know and we can help you through the business credit building process as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Don't forget, 2 weeks, businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com. We go live for 3 days and decode all of this. If you're interested, go to businesscreditbuildingchallenge.com or scan the QR code. And I look forward to seeing you on our next training. We talk about more cool ways to get the money you need to start and grow your business. Let me see here. Oh, wait. Henry says, hey, thank you. The answer to the question. And Z says, hey, do we have to set up a DUNS number on our own, or does the DUNS number, you set it up on your own? You can go to creditsuite.com/DUNS to do it, DUNS. creditsuite.com/DUNS. It's 100% free to get your DUNS number, but it is something you need to set up or you're not going to have business credit reports established. Hopefully that helps you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you next time we talk about more cool ways to get the